What's up and welcome to Party Invite, where we invite you to a gaming community of inclusiveness and diversity. Your party members today are Thomas Egan.
Hello.
Carlos Gomez.
Hey.
Devi Hill.
Hi.
And I am your party leader, Chris Mowry. On today's episode, it's Devi Appreciation Day. So we'll be chatting We'll be chatting with her about all the exciting stuff she has going on and a bit of her past in gaming. But first, let's dive into what we've been playing. Thomas, what have you been getting into?
Chris, you know what it is. I have just finished.
It's your boy.
Undertale. It's your boy. I have just finished Undertale for the third and final time. It was very exciting. I finished it after. Well, so I was playing through the No Mercy run, right? I've been playing the brunch special on Saturdays and Sundays, basically for the past month. And Undertale is an amazing game. I love that game. In my top 5 for sure. You play through that game and you can play as totally good, neutral, or totally bad. And so the only one I hadn't done yet was totally bad. That was totally sad. It was heartbreaking to just murder all these wonderful characters. It was rough, man. Especially like the first session I had. I won't go like super far into it, but man, it really, it's wild how much detail went into that game. It is so thoughtful. It's so well designed. It looks like such a simple game, but so many of the little touches are what really sell that thing. So among other things, I finally got to hear Megalovania, which is the most popular song from that game. It only plays when you fight Sans, the best character in the game. And so we got to hear like 4.5 hours of that because I died to him a million times. It was crazy difficult. Easily the hardest thing in the game. But the nice thing about that is that you don't end up at that part by accident. Like you have to do a lot of things on purpose to get to that fight. So it was nice to finally seen the last bit of that game that I had never seen. I finally got to hear that song in its, natural habitat instead of just on Spotify, and really enjoyed it. I cannot recommend that game enough. It's on Game Pass right now. It just came out on Game Pass maybe 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. It's available on PlayStation. I'm pretty sure it's on Switch. It's on PC. It's a cool game. So I really enjoyed that. And then I've just been playing Hades. I don't have a lot to say about that, except the game's also really good. It's the game that keeps on giving. And after talking to a friend in Discord right before recording, it sounds like it's never going to stop continuing. Like the things that are blowing me away right now, where it just keeps surprising me, apparently there's no end to that in sight. So for as much as I love this game, I'm so excited that it's not like it is a roguelike, right? So like it's fresh every time, but you're seeing a lot of the same stuff. But I've never had a game like this feel like there's always forward progression. Like I'm always seeing new things. Like, and not just like, oh, what are the odds that all of these mechanics would come together in this weird, interesting way, like a game like Spelunky or Into the Breach. Instead, it's interesting because they're constantly new dialogue. Like you never hear anybody say the same thing twice, ever. I have new combinations of weapons and abilities all the time. Just a bunch of stuff like that. So I love that game, and I love how much I'm getting out of it, and I'm excited for how much I'm still going to get out of it ahead of me. So that's what I've been playing.
Nice. Speaking of games that are very good, Carlos, you have been playing Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah, just a little bit. I will be getting really into it this week, I'm sure. As I showed you guys last week when I got the special edition physical copy of Hyper Light Drifter for Switch that just released last week, and it's so good. The game itself, though, obviously, a lot of people have played it. It's nothing new, but it is one of those it is one of those games that has paved the way for something like Hades over the last few years. So I really can't wait to complete it. That's just going to be a couple marathon days and done. I look forward to that.
How far are you, or how much have you played?
Literally like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. Yeah.
I in that's one of my favorite games ever. But there's like so many times in that game where I would, like, after I killed all the enemies in the area, I would just sit there and look at the screen because it's really great pixel art, and then just listen to the soundtrack, like take in all the visuals and the soundtrack. There's a water area that you get to where the way that the soundtrack and the like visuals of that area like tie together is just like mwah, chef's kiss.
I mean, water zones usually have like a reputation for having like the most beautiful environments and music. You
Yeah,
know, like
that's
look
true.
at Dire
Oh, yeah.
Docks and SM64. That's like the one that started it all.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, Aquatic Ambience from Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
I don't know the actual name of the level, but the song is called Aquatic Ambience.
Dude, to illustrate how pervasive that was, Donald Glover as Childish Gambino like famously sampled Aquatic Ambience in one of his like early like pre-Childish Gambino songs, and he didn't even know it was Donkey Kong. He just heard a cool sample online and was just like, "Oh, I'm using this."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No.
But yeah, I can't wait for you to play more of that, Carlos, because we'll have a lot to talk about, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll have a full review, and it's already one of those things that just going through that first 45 minutes or so, I'm seeing bits of it in all the other indie games that I've played over the last couple of years. Like I played through a run of the Moon Hunters on Switch a few weeks back, which I was meaning to tell you guys that you should hop on at some point, because Moon Hunters is, I think it's up to 4 players, and it's a very fun, almost soothing, very Hyperlight Drifter-ish game, roguelike, that has all this mythology, this lore, and you're just these different. I don't know how to say it. They're very Greek-inspired characters that they're kind of part of a faction of people that are very spiritual. They have all these like animals that they are kin to. Just this really very cool story that's mixed with the Hyperlight Drifter style of combat, and it's super satisfying. But that, along with a countless number of indies that I've played over the past couple of years, it's just like, wow, this may not have been the absolute first, but just like everything else we're seeing here, like Undertale, Hyperlight Drifter. I saw a video earlier today where Axiom Verge 2, some more information was released, and I'm just thinking about all this stuff that's coming back around for sequels right now. There's another Birthing of Isaac coming out. It's just like it's crazy. We're in the second renaissance of indies, and it feels really nice.
Yeah.
Can I just say that we're getting more information about Axiom Verge 2 than we are about Metroid Prime 4?
Exactly. Yeah, a game with one developer.
Yeah.
And then with that, the other game I'm starting to play up was The Mummy Demastered. Some people know about it. It came out late 2017. It was a movie tie-in, technically, for the horrible movie.
What? Maybe the weirdest video game tie-in I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I've seen the game, haven't played it, but like when I listened to coverage of it, I had to skip back to re-listen because I was like, no, surely I misunderstood.
Surely. I mean, it's really funny. It does feel like a tie-in when you're playing it, but it is quality. It feels very much like the non-arcade version of Metal Slug. So, it's fun.
Yeah. It has really good soundtrack. I remember
It does.
Listening to that because all the Giant Bomb guys like would not stop talking about it. They were just like, Mummy Demastered. Like, I know this sounds crazy, and I know this sounds weird, but that soundtrack bangs. And then, of course, when they do the Game of the Year ones, you actually get to hear bits of it. And I was like, damn, this is good.
Yeah, it's a constant beat that just keeps you going. Like, it very much feels like just a little bit of Contra and a little bit of basically any kind of side-scrolling shooter. I think it's supposed to get a little bit more complicated with the whole death mechanic, sort of Dead Cells style death mechanic, but I hadn't died yet when I was playing it, so
that's my problem.
So I'll come back to that later, I'm sure.
Competitive Carlos.
That's right. That's what's coming out this week. And of course, because it's the last week of March, I'm still playing more Mario 35, and so many people are playing it right now that it's getting so fucking hard. Ridiculously hard. I played, I think, 4 or 5 games last night. My best was 6th place out of 35, and that was like I was sweating at the end of it.
Battle Royale fever.
Like, I was so mad just playing a freaking Mario game. It was ridiculous. Because you guys need to get into it on these last few days, but it's one of those situations where, just like Tetris 99, one of the major components of the game is that not only are you playing yourself, but you have to, not have any kind of errors. You're racing a clock, and you're racing 34 other people, and they can send enemies to your screen.
Which seems like once it starts escalating, it gets out of hand pretty quick.
Pretty fast.
I was so like you can see who's targeting you, and I was targeted by at least 8 people. I know it was 8 people, but that's because I couldn't even look at all the people around me on the screen because I had, no kidding you. Okay, so all the Mario enemies and stuff, right? One of my major deaths, there were 6 Lakitus. So Lakitus are the guys in the clouds that throw the spiky dudes at you. 6 Lakitus. Okay, and they were divided upon 3 levels. First level was basically equal with me. The second level was right above me, and then the third level was at the very top of the screen. And so they would drop their spinies, and it would just be an impossible cloud of enemies falling down on me.
It's raining spikes.
And that's not even to mention that one of my deaths, it was at the same time. These Lakitus were doing it. I had no less than 12 to 15 Goombas on screen, and there were 2 Bowsers, one behind me and one in front of me. And they were just going all out. It was full tilt, and it is so hard when all these people are playing, but it was super fun.
I have a question.
You've got to play it.
I have a question about this. When there's that much stuff going on your screen, and you're connected with however many other players, does it chug or like any of that at all?
No,
not at all.
Nope. No,
It's pretty smooth experience, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very smooth, and I think the only thing that has made it at all taxing is the POW blocks. When there's that many enemies on screen, the POW block, when it hits, it's more. I think it's more of what it does for you, like what it does to you visually, less than it is actual performance-wise.
Yeah.
But as you know, what a POW block does, it shakes the whole screen and everybody dies. So, I think it's more of just the visual than the system freaking out about it. But yeah, it's stupid smooth. You would never expect that a game could work as well as it does.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
And
think
I
there'd
mean,
be some issues, but
like half the time that you die, it's still the old classic of holding down B and thinking that you're gonna jump farther than you do. Like that's still 90% of your deaths is still doing that, regardless. So
I think I'd be terrible at this, but
yeah.
I gotta take platformers at my own speed sometimes.
Yeah,
so
just
race probably
like
wouldn't.
try it on somebody's Switch in the next 6 days.
Well, that's probably
For
not
sure.
gonna
I mean,
happen.
So
Unfortunately.
the game isn't going away, is it?
Yeah, it's going
Yeah.
away. You won't be able to access it anymore.
Oh, I thought you wouldn't
As
be
far
able
as
to
we've
buy
been
it
told.
anymore.
That's the other
What?
one. That's the
Yeah.
other Mario
Aw, heck.
bundle.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Mhm.
Dang it.
The 3D All Stars, the
Nintendo.
one that I bought yesterday, because that's happening.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, I guess I'll get on it.
Yeah, you got to try.
Yeah.
You have limited time to try it now, so you have to. Like this is
Yep.
going away. I got to try it.
It's a crazy time for sure.
Devi, what have you been playing?
Well, just some same old, same old. I've been getting back into Road Company a lot more recently. We played last night, Carlos and I, and it was a lot of fun. Even though we kept getting a bunch of newbies for some reason. I don't know where they're coming from, like out of the woodwork or something. I'm not really sure. But we had people like levels 2s and 5s and like all this stuff, and we opted not to have any in-game communication going because the last time we did that, it was like 2 sub 9-year-olds screeching into the microphone, and it was like the most awful thing in the world because you can't mute anybody. So you have to
Right.
either have
Why?
voice chat on or off. And so this time we were just like, let's have it off because I was streaming and I didn't want to have to deal with that, on my stream.
Right.
Right.
So it's not like we could tell people what to do explicitly, but we were still pinging and nobody was using their skills. We had
Right.
intel characters
Yeah.
who weren't providing us information. We had point breakers who weren't using their abilities to like create openings for us to take the objective. Like it was crazy. But we pull through sometimes.
Have you guys
Sometimes.
have you guys experienced any issues with grouping up with people? Where
What do you mean?
So a few of my friends, we have basically like a full 4-team squad, and depending on who sends the invites, like certain people will get back an error code saying they couldn't join or something like that, and it's only when we start getting above 2 people in the party. It's just really odd, and it happens. It's happening regularly now. I can't talk.
I haven't had that issue at all. Carlos?
I think that invites are still a little funny sometimes, but
I also don't understand.
I
like,
don't think that there's a sure problem anymore.
Okay. Yeah, there's. I also just don't understand why I can't just like click on a friend and like join their lobby. It's like you have to send an invite. Like a workaround for that, if that's having issues, is just having a button that allows me just to join up into their lobby. It's only invites. But this did just come out of early access, right? Like semi-recently.
Like a month or something ago.
Relatively,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot cleaner than it was even like
Oh,
45
for
days
sure.
ago.
Yeah.
For sure. For one thing, party chat actually works. So
Yes, it does.
Helps a little bit.
It does. But yeah, I haven't been able to play any of that this week, but I'm very much enjoying my time with Rogue Company.
yeah, we see you picking it up recently. Like that's crazy to me because you were just kind of not as gung ho about it in the past, and now you're just like, so Roko?
Yeah.
Roko?
Well, it was
Yeah.
like I think it has to do with like it coming out of early access and being like, hey, this makes more sense now. You're getting more rep to spend on characters. You're earning money easier. It just seems like there's a carrot, to be chasing. Which in a free game like that, you have to have that. If you don't have that, I don't know. I'm still confused on why they launched early access without any sort of battle pass or anything. I know it's early access and they're just like testing, but that's
in
weird.
in Hearthstone, the Battlegrounds game, which is basically auto chess, like it's an auto battler with these minions you recruit.
Mhm.
That's still technically in beta. It's been in beta for like, I don't know, at least a year, like probably a year and a half. But the confusing thing about that is that they switched over to a battle pass system recently, which people were very upset about. But one of the perks is that when you go into Battlegrounds, when you choose like a hero who has a special power, you get to choose from 4 heroes instead of just 2. But that's confusing to me because it's in beta. Like part of the Battle Pass paid content is part of the beta content. Like, is this a beta or is it out?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. The mode's
sure.
fun. I mean, I'm not complaining about that. It's just a little confusing. I don't really see where the line is between what they think a beta is and not. Like, what's going to happen? I don't know. It's confusing, but it doesn't actually matter that much.
Yeah, battle passes in beta are like really weird. Like when I played Pokemon Unite and also in Knockout City, both games that will be coming out to the Switch relatively soon. Super really excited about those. They both had their battle pass systems implemented, but they gave you all the currency that you needed, like right away. So basically, it was a way to test out your different builds or your different costumes, or basically build how you wanted to play right off the bat, so they could more easily gauge the kind of balance that they need to be tweaking and working on. So I think in that sense, if you have a battle pass in like your early access or your beta or whatever, give people the tools to actually explore that so that you have the ability to garner the information and use that to help you develop your game. Yeah. Don't just be like, we're having a battle pass and that's it, Use it to test your economy. Are people earning the in-game currency at a good rate, or do you find them purchasing the premium account or the premium currency? Like in Unite, they had like all these different currencies that you can earn, one of which was just by playing the game, and the other one is gems. But in the beta, they just gave you a whole bunch of gems so that if you wanted to use the premium currency, you could. So in that way, people are like, or they could be like, are you using the in-game currency? Are you using the gems more? Is this something that we need to tweak so they earn more or whatever? I just thought that was really smart. So when you're talking about the battle pass that you're facing, Thomas, and Hearthstone, just seems kind of weird to me. Like if you're able to actually buy beta items in a battle pass with real money, I don't know how that. I think that rubs me the wrong way. Especially because we don't know if those items are going to be staying around. Like, what if the items are broken or whatever?
Blizzard, right?
Yeah. It's frustrating. I think the battle pass is about to cycle over because there's a new season that may have started today actually, or not even a new season, like a new expansion. Mm-hmm. Either it's out today or they're like it was the pre-patch, then it's about to release. I don't know. I don't even pay attention. I just play the game, and I'm just always surprised when anything changes. But yeah, it's a weird system they've got going on in there. It's not worth me going into, but it is confusing, and people had a lot of negative opinions about it. Like even for a battle pass, and even for Blizzard, I was still surprised how upset people were. And I don't think it was unwarranted, but the whole situation is really unusual. And it is a testament to how sensitive people are to paid content like that.
I mean, developers and publishers are just doing it. Well, I'll obviously take the blame off the developers, but publishers are still putting so much out there. I think they're just getting so desperate right now. And I mean, I think it's Genshin just released that they hit over 1 billion. And that's at least the 5th or 6th franchise that has gotten 1 billion from strictly mobile gacha type mechanics. So we can look forward to this for a long time.
Yay!
Yeah. Speaking of a new season, though, Ninjala just came out with their season 5. It is entirely based around fairy tales. So nice. Rapunzel, Princess Kaguya, Little Red Riding Hood, and like all these other, fairy tale beings, I suppose, and stories. Last season was about just winter, and the season before that was dragons. So it's really interesting to see the direction that they're taking with this one, especially because they released long flowing hair, which I've been waiting for since season 1. Now I can truly
Does it look
myself.
Like yours?
There's some braids and flowers in it, but we can work with it. Because it's it's Rapunzel's hair, so
right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's so nice. But the battle pass, they made a lot of really, really good decisions when it comes to this season's battle pass. Because in the past, it was kind of like thematic between like, oh, this is the actual theme, and then, oh, this is something else that's happening in real life. So last one, it was like dragons and stuff, but also for some reason Christmas. Because it was also coming out during the holiday season. So after that, we had winter, which didn't have any of the Christmas stuff in it at all. I think I had like a Happy New Year thing in it, but this is just all fantasy, which is so much fun. And like just some ninja elements, which is fine because it's a ninja game. But I'm really excited about the season.
Wait, back that up. What? Are there ninjas in
Did
this
you not
game?
know?
Yeah.
Ninjala?
Wow. Yeah, let me write this down. Hold up. I don't have the clickety clack that Debbie's got.
Clickety, clickety, click.
Now, I was
Clickety-clackety.
wondering, did the bubblegum change to something else for this expansion?
What do you mean?
Like, are the weapons changing, or is it just the cosmetics of everything?
Well, they do have 3 new weapons now. They have a new yo-yo type weapon. They have a new katana type weapon, which is a paper fan, and it's the one that I've fallen in love with. Just already, because fan. I got a fan off the haters.
Mm-hmm.
And they come out with a new hammer that's basically built of gears. So that's really cool.
Nice.
They have every time they come up with a new weapon, just a new weapon, not a new weapon class, which is what they've done in the past. It has a new assortment of special abilities, or not special abilities, but like skills and ultimates. So they'll have their inherent special ability, but it's going to be like a new gumshoot projectile or a new ninjutsu ultimate ability. So the way that they're kind of mixing these around and coming up with different kits for people really allows for people to find their one weapon that they can use that fits their playstyle like perfectly, and then also experiment with others comfortably within their same realm of playstyle. So that's going to be really interesting to see how the meta evolves with these new weapons, I think.
Cool.
But yeah, that's it. That's what I've been playing.
Ninjala.
Ninjala! I got to represent because, being an ambassador, whatnot.
Oh, we'll get
It was
into
good
that
watching.
soon.
Oh yeah, it was good watching the tournament the other day just to see how many people were excited about it. Just seeing the numbers and everything, it was very, very cool. Because obviously they've put so much into the competitive scene with Ninjala, but I didn't exactly know what to expect. But seeing the games through and seeing all the fans in chat, like, Jesus, the chat is ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's one of those things that you just can't keep up and you don't try.
The thing is too is that the BBB, which we'll talk about later, in depth, is the first officially sanctioned North American Ninjala tournament. The other stuff that I've been playing with, the ENL, the Elite Ninjala League, that was all community run. So this was the very first one that was actually sponsored and sanctioned by Gung Ho Studios, and it was kind of experimental in format and scope. And with it being such a resounding success, I would not be surprised if we had this one was a battle royale format, and I wouldn't be surprised if we come out with like a team battle one, sometime within the next year or something like that. I mean, don't put my name on that or whatever you say, however you say it, but I wouldn't be surprised. It was really successful. I think that we as in Gung Ho, were really blown away by the turnout. I'm
Great.
looking forward to seeing how it evolves, though, for real.
Yeah, I can't wait to dig into more of this, because you got a lot of exciting stuff going on. So, I haven't been playing much of anything this week. It's been just one of those weeks where all of a sudden I look around and I'm like, have I played video games at all this week? There's been so much going on. But I started playing Empire of Sin, which is on Game Pass. It is a strategy game, sim game about the mob. So what I would describe it as is it's like Civ, because you have all these different characters you can start off as, and XCOM had a baby, but that baby grew up with a stogie and a fedora on, and he just loves the mob.
So it's Boss Baby. Got it.
It's Boss Baby. Yeah. But it is way deeper into the sim aspect than I guess I expected. Once I saw combat and stuff, I was like, oh, cool. It's like XCOM, but you're doing mob stuff. That sounds fun. You can swap out your gear. Your characters earn traits. You can level up these characters, all those kind of things. But then, there's just more and more layers. It's you got to take over rackets. So you go in, complete a combat situation, then you take over the speakeasy, and you could name your speakeasy. You can upgrade the security at your speakeasy because maybe another family from another neighborhood comes in and starts trying to take over your stuff. So you have to it is spinning plates. There are so many spinning plates, and I don't play a ton of like the sim heavy games. So when it gives me a menu just for my finances and all of those things, I'm like, whoa, what? What do I do here? What am I supposed to do? What happens if I don't have enough money? What happens? Like, wait, all this costs money to keep running? But then there's like factions of people, and the factions are like the police and the prohibition agents and all these people. You have like, and there's other factions, there's other families that you can have these relationships with. That has its own menu and has 4 different tabs in it. And like, it is a lot. And it's a ton.
My first question is, are you enjoying it?
Not at all.
I think so. I'm pretty sure I'm enjoying it. I'm sticking with it, at least for, a couple more days, because there's so many games coming out. But it's,
it sounds
you gotta for the family.
It's for the family.
For the family.
Family. So when you start off, the way I say it's like Civ is because like you could be like Gandhi or whatever in Civ, right? Or you have all these different characters that have their own benefits and stuff. Right when you start, you get to pick your boss, and there is like 10 of them, all different races, nationalities. Like it's interesting, and each one of them has their own like, because they're like basically XCOM characters. So one of like the character that I am, he's awesome. He's an African American mortician who has a top hat, always wearing a suit, and he has this. He does pistol work, which is since I've been playing Secret and Rogue Company, I'm a big fan of pistol work lately. So his his special ability is it takes 2 action points, and he can just unload his entire pistol, and you can upgrade that pistol. Like, you could be a rare pistol, or there's item rarity and stuff too. So like you start off and it's like a 5-shot pistol, right? But then I swap that for an 11-shot pistol, and his ability is he will just unload his pistol. If it's fully loaded, he'll just unload it into somebody, and if they die, he will move on to the next character until his clip is gone. The next enemy. I'm like, that's a great ability. I love that. That is so good. There's just and there's so many different types of these mob bosses and their stories are different. So like the idea, I'm assuming, is to take over the entire city as one character and then win the game, start over with a new character where their story's different and their missions are different. It's fascinatingly deep. Like I just wasn't kind of expecting. Like XCOM is a pretty deep game, but like once you get it, it's like you're just flying through it.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like there's a lot. I'm reading a lot, and they're like, when they get you into one of these new menus, they're like, take a look around and figure out what this is. Like, don't just get out of this menu. So I'm like sitting there scanning over every little thing, and I'm just like, this is a lot to take in. It's almost like it's like a Sim City-esque thing where you start taking over different parts, and then there's like, I'm only in one neighborhood right now, and my goal right now is to take over that one neighborhood. I think the mission is I have to have up to 5 rackets, which are, you can have a speakeasy, you can have a brewery, you can have a brothel, like, mob stuff, casino. And each one of those you have to upgrade with security and all these things. But what was interesting too is they said that the feds could shut down my brewery. So if like I don't have like a good rapport with the cops, they'll just like start shutting down my businesses and stuff. So I'm wondering, like, am I gonna play this for like 10 hours and then just like the game just starts really like the sim aspects of the game really and mechanics start really fucking with me, and then I'm like, my brewery's gone, my safe house has been ransacked by another family. Like there is like deep layers here that are like kind of freaky.
you can't be afraid to take over the town because you're afraid you might lose it. You know?
Right.
You gotta be fearless.
I don't know if I can keep this place. Yeah. It just
Little did you know that your mob boss is a roller coaster tycoon.
Yeah,
And
it
you
is
might
kinda like
also
Roller Coaster
have
Tycoon.
to. You might also have to start, generating some income by creating dinosaurs on a park. Like,
yes,
Ah.
Jurassic
it's probably an
Evolution, yeah.
option.
There's no Jeff Goldblum in this though, which is unfortunate.
Oh.
But I am wondering because one of the bosses you can be is Al Capone. I'm wondering if all of the bosses are after real people, similar to like Civilization. I need
That'd
to
be cool.
I need to look that up and see because that would give another like interesting layer to it. They also mentioned something to me earlier that I could eventually have an underboss, which I'm wondering if I get to pick another one of those bosses to be like the under, which I think would be cool because
neat.
now you would have two like specialized characters that, and each character has relationships with other characters you can hire, and like maybe
Yo, Chris, you gotta
there's
show
so
us this
much.
game. Like you
Yeah,
gotta. I
it's a
need to
lot.
see this in action because
Actually, yeah, we should have some gameplay.
Yeah,
of
I
this,
think
for sure.
I think a
Capture some of
QTE
that
or
for me.
and a stream or something would be great because it's. And I almost feel like I have to start at the beginning and just be like, "Hey, so this is how this works," because otherwise I can't tell you how it works because there's just too much going on. It's like
So
mini
this is the
plates.
game. Everything's happening all at once, and yeah, that's it. You know.
well, basically what I know from your history, just of knowing you for a while and the kind of games and stuff you like. I mean, the fact that you're interested enough to stick with it means that there's something special in there.
Yeah, there's and
because-
it's not perfect. Like, it's an indie. So, like, some of the character models in cutscenes, where you get to like pick what you say to people, but it doesn't seem to affect anything really. Like you may have like three choices at the end of the conversation that are like, pull your gun, like try to get this person to come over to your side, or those kind of things.
those seem different. Those
well,
seem very different.
So those are, but it doesn't like in the first like cutscene that I was in, it wasn't like that. It was like it seemed like no matter what you picked, you always ended up at the same place. So now that I'm out of that first one, it's kind of changing, but I don't know to what extent, right? Because I've only played it for a couple hours.
I see.
But yeah, it's just a lot. It's really hard to like I like I was saying the characters don't look very good at some points. Like when you're in the overworld, everything's fine, but when you're in the cutscenes, they can sometimes look a little like that's when they're talking, and you're just like, that's not how a jaw works. But like as long as if you're just like listening to them, the voice acting's fine. There is like a really weird when you're in combat, and maybe I could turn this off too. This might be in the settings. It gets like uber violent for like no reason. There's when people you can shoot people and they go down, and you have to execute them in order for them to die, or they'll just bleed out, or you can execute them. And when you execute them, certain characters have like special executions, but like the main one you do for like your underlings, they like pull out a razor, like an old time razor for shaving, and they like walk up and slit the person's throat. And when they do that,
Oh my god!
and when they do that, it just like throws up like blood splatter on the screen, but it just like appears like as a graphic like overlay,
Oh no.
and it looks tacky and bad. And it's like, who thought like if you just walked up and slit their throat, there's enough like blood in that part of the game, that you don't need to have this stupid splatter over the top of the screen. Like you don't need that. We got.
Are you telling me you knew that that's what would happen if somebody did that?
No, I didn't know it was gonna happen. So like when I walked up and like slit, I was like, oh, and then it went. I was like, why? We don't need that.
Nice.
It's too much and it doesn't look good. It's not like. It just looks like it's a JPEG file that just appears when you like, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't look very good. I'm sure in computer games you can mess with a lot of settings, and maybe I can just make that disappear, so that doesn't happen when I execute people. But that's just like kind of a minor gripe, I guess. But it seems to be very well done. It's by Paradox Interactive is the people that released it, and they're known for these like super sim heavy games. But yeah, it's cool. I'll probably stick with it for a little bit, but like I said, I got to get back into disco here in a few days. It Takes Two comes out tomorrow, so there's just a lot. Like I downloaded the Magic Legends beta. I want to try that out. There's just too much to play right now.
No, yeah. Next week's pod is going to be fucking ridiculous if we talk about what we're all going to be playing.
Yeah, if we
Just
all have
saying.
time to play all those things, because there's just a lot. There's so much. Because Monster Hunter comes out tomorrow too, right?
That's correct. As of this recording.
As of this recording. Wow.
It'll be out, and we will have slept on many a monster hunting expedition for sure.
Yes.
Slept? No.
I mean, after I don't even know anymore. No
What is
sleep.
sleep? No sleep.
So for this week's party topic, we will be interviewing our very own Devi Hill. So
Me.
we've been doing this party invite thing here for about 5 months now. And Devi, I met you some handful of years ago, I guess at this point, at some sort of gaming event, probably at Tapcade here in Kansas City. R.I.P.
Rip.
Shoot. Wasn't that a T3?
Well, you always say that we met at T3, but I never went to T3. So, let's actually dial it back. I want to hear your story. Like, I want to take it way back, right? So, at the end of this, we'll get to the actual community questions that, people are going to be familiar with. But I kind of want to ask you about, like, what really got you started in gaming? Like, what, did you play a lot of games when you were younger? Like, what led you to be the gamer that you are today?
Well, it all started when I was a child. I mean, so I was playing video games, to answer your question, literally since I was like 1 year old.
Mhm.
So I've been playing a really, really long time because I'm hella old now. Woo!
Yeah.
Yay, 8. It's just been, I don't know, always kind of like a lifestyle for me. Whenever I had any kind of downtime at all, I would always have something in my hands. In like my younger days, it was the Game Gear. That was the one that I just took with me everywhere, the Sega Game Gear. I would also play Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2 on it, and a game called Slider, which I think is probably my favorite Game Gear game besides Dynamite Headdy. But it's basically, it's you control this like yellow character, and I know it's gonna sound a lot like Pac-Man, but you control this character, but instead of collecting dots, your objective is to turn all of the panels of the floor from red to blue. Or blue to red, I can't remember. You change the color. And so it's a puzzle in that you have to navigate in one go room. Or else if you land on another tile again, it'll turn it back to that original color. So, and this was a game that I was playing when I was like super little. And I don't know, it was just always really fun. The music was nice. The colors were like popping. It was a good time. So just growing up where I can lose myself in these new worlds, these new environments and stuff has just always been kind of a thing. I don't really know how it happened. It just did.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it did. I really don't know who I would be or where I'd be if I didn't have that.
Did you mostly play games by yourself, or did you play, did you play Mario Kart when you were younger? Did you just play any other multiplayer? Or did you mostly stick to games either on your Game Gear or on any other system you had?
Well, when I was staying with my dad, my parents got divorced when I was really young. So when I stayed with my dad, I played on the NES. And he had games like, he had things that used the light scope. So my very first game that I've ever played was Hogan's Alley. That was the very first game I ever played. And then he also had a game called Operation Wolf, which is kind of like a side scroller that has a cursor on the screen. You aim with the light scope to, take down like the military people. And then he also had like the Duck Hunt and Mario combo, that everyone knows and loves. He also had Tecmo Bowl, which I love. It has a special place in my heart. That is my dad and my game, is Tecmo Bowl. And then when I stayed with my mom, which is prominently, I live mostly with my mom, we played a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog. She had a Genesis. And so we had Sonic the Hedgehog, we had like all three of them, and then we had a game called Valis, which is about a magical girl who falls into this alternate dream world. We also had Golden Axe, the staples. So I would play by myself, mostly on my Game Gear. Those are the single player experiences that I had. But when I was playing on console when I was younger, it'd be with my mom or my dad or my aunt.
Okay, that's cool. I feel like so many people's experiences are so similar with, I went over to my friend's place and played GoldenEye, and Smash Bros. But I think that's just how people talk about it. But I think the reality is that people have such a wide variety of experiences growing up that, like, if you had 5 different things that you think of, but everybody always talks about GoldenEye, you'll be like, oh yeah, I play GoldenEye. So it's interesting to hear you say that you'd mostly play multiplayer with your family. I told the story that one of my earliest gaming memories is playing Super Mario Brothers with my extended family. That only happened a few times ever, but it really stuck with me. And I feel like those family gaming experiences, especially when they're not with like a brother or sister, but they're with a parent, are a little more rare, but they really seem to stick with people really well. So that's interesting to hear. Let's see. So you gamed with the Game Gear and the NES and the Genesis. What did you get after that? Did you get an N64? I know at some point you got the GameCube.
Well, I have every Nintendo system, so that.
Checks out.
I mean, main console. I don't have like the Virtual Boy or whatever. And I only have a couple of the handhelds, but like console releases, I have like all of those. So the NES that I actually have is my childhood one that I played with my dad. So it's fun to go into the living room because I have like it all set up over there and like see that and be like, "Aw, daddy," you know what I mean? I kind of fell out of the Sega console as I was growing up. They came out with like the Sega Saturn and the Sega CD and everything, and none of that really interested me. But then they came out with the Dreamcast, and oh my gosh, I fell in love with the Dreamcast. Power Stone, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Shuffle, which is like Mario Party but with Sonic, and instead of dice, you use cards. And just the modelry is such a thing in that game. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the videos where people make fun of like the way that people, like the characters talk in the old Sonic Adventure games. It's kind of atrocious. Like, it's a whole movie. And so the Dreamcast is kind of responsible for introducing us to like that memery, and Sonic Shuffle is like the brunt of those horrible animations. It's so much fun. But the mini games themselves and the storyline was actually pretty solid, more so than any Mario Party game that I know of. So it's a give and take as far as that goes. But no, I pretty much grew up with Nintendo. PlayStation was a thing in my house as well. I only have my PS3 and 4 now. I accidentally drowned my PS1, by which I mean the very small scale PS1, the rounder one, in soda.
No.
Yeah. Something very funny happened on TV, and like I had a mouthful of soda. It was just like, and then I set down my glass of soda to like wipe it up, and in my fervor, I knocked the glass of soda onto the PS1, so it was already covered in soda, and then there was more soda on top of that, and it was just like, there's no salvaging it now.
There's no recovery there. No.
The rice, I took it out of the rice, and it was just like. So sticky. It wouldn't even open, and the buttons wouldn't even press. I was just like, well, here's a funeral. It's the last time I would hear the cling, cling, cling,
This system was good before, but now it's popping.
All right, well, that's going to do it for today's show. We all have to go and just end this.
No, so
better things.
Okay, so Devi, when you got older, so of course, you once upon a time, Party Invite used to be GG Kansas City, sort of, which was like we're still a positive gaming community that's all based in Kansas City right now, but we used to be like solely focused on Kansas City gaming. My old team members, they met you at T3, which was the barcade, not barcade, but a barcade, an arcade bar that was in Kansas City. How did you tell me more about that? Because that used to it seems like it used to be a real staple around Kansas City. There were only a few like pillars of the gaming community as far as like businesses went. There's probably T3. There was SoPro. You know, nobody knew about this, but in Lee Summit where I grew up, there was a place called Roxor's, an internet cafe that did not last very long.
Not with a name like that. I mean.
Yeah. ROXXORZ.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P.
RIP.
Rip.
Press F.
Yeah, but there were just a few long-standing gaming businesses, and T3 was one of them. Well, actually, T3 and SoPro these days, they've been gone. Pandemic or not, they've been gone for a while now. But how did you end up at T3? Well, how did you end up at T3, and how did you end up running game tournaments there?
So when I went into T3 for the first time, I was actually working at SoPro, I'm pretty sure, because I worked at SoPro before I worked at T3.
I forgot about that.
And I worked at SoPro because I saw that they were going under construction, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I saw one of the owners, like, you know, reading a memo or something, and I was like, y'all hiring? So I worked there for a while, and then T3 opened up, and I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like a barcade that's not, you know, across state line. I don't have to, like, drive 20 minutes to go to Updown or whatever. I mean, I love Updown, but it was so far away, quote unquote, because I'm lazy. But now there's this other barcade that is literally 5 minutes away from my apartment. Let me go check it out. And the difference between all three of them is SoPro did have all of the modern consoles. They didn't have any of the arcade consoles, but it also had computers as well. So you can go there and do computer gaming. But it had no alcoholic beverages at all. It was completely family oriented. People went there with like their kids for like Minecraft camps and whatnot. Oh God. And Updown, you know, it's just like more arcade focused. So they have the arcade cabinets and everything, and then also it's a bar. And T3, while it did have all the arcades there, it also had the modern consoles like the Wii U at the time, and the PS4 and the Xbox One. And so I went in to go check it out because it was just, you know, hip hop happening. And they were running a Mario Kart tournament there for Mario Kart 8. And oh my God, this guy that was commentating the match was like so bored with life. I tell you, he was up in there like, okay, so Peach is in first now. Uh-oh, she got hit by a banana. Here comes Toad. And I'm like, what is this, a Clear Eyes commercial? Hello? So I walk up to the bartender, who just happened to be the manager at the time, because it was like just open. So they were like, the manager was the bartender, he's also a chef there, and there was another bartender. So I just walked up to one of them, and I was like, hey, who's this guy on the mic? He doesn't sound like he's having a good time. And he was just like, oh, that's so-and-so, you know, he's doing this. And I was like, do you need any more of those? Because, like, I'm down, you know? And he was just like, yeah, sure, why not? Why don't you come in for the Smash tournament? Because previously I had gone in and played a Smash tournament there. But why don't you come in for the Smash tournament and, you know, give it a shot? So I went into the Smash tournament, which I think was the next day. Because on one day they had, like, Mario Kart, and then the next day they had Smash Bros. Until eventually we started doing Mortal Kombat and Tekken tournaments. So it'd be like fighting game day, and then it would be like Nintendo day. So I went in the next day, and I went and shoutcast at the Smash tournament there, and everybody like was having such a good time. They like stopped what they were doing on the arcades just to come over and watch the matches because they were interested in what I was saying about the matches. And the manager was there. His name is Bradley, who I call Dadley because he's like Daddy AF. Shout out to Bradley. He was there still, and he was like, that was amazing. Do you like want to start like now? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? So I did that thing. And when I wasn't shoutcasting tournaments, I was kind of like maintaining the arcade cabinets and doing bar back stuff. So I wasn't just there just shoutcasting. I also worked there like as a bar employee, which is different. So that was cool. But that's how I began.
A legend was born.
I mean, the legend was already born. I just happened to be in a different place. The legend just happened to walk into the building. Like.
Yeah, I told you the other day, I think it was off stream, but each time you and my mom would be in the same room at Tapcade when we'd have an event, every time you'd usually show up, you'd see everybody, you'd hang out, and then you'd go, or my mom would have to go or whatever. But my mom would always say, she's just like, I like her energy. Every time. I don't think she ever didn't say that. But she was right. She was right. And I mean, the same reason I think people like listening to you shoutcast is the same reason that you've had a lot of the success that you see today, which I want to talk about. So, you stream regularly, irregularly on Twitch, right? Which is to say that you stream kind of whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, that's a safe statement.
Sometimes I look at my phone and I'm like, wait, does that say AM or PM?
Yeah.
But you stream to a lot of people who are excited to watch you, whether you're playing Ninjala or not. But as a result, it's not really a shock that you've had such, your charisma has kind of shown through to get you a position as an ambassador for Ninjala, which we have already talked about before. But I am interested in hearing about that. But I also want to learn more about the announcement that came out this week that you'll be teaming up with GGPR Esports.
Yes. So, a bit after my ambassador highlight was released for Gung Ho Studios, I was actually reached out to you by Jordan, and he was like, "Hey, do you have like a stream team? Like, are you part of a stream team at all?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." He was like, "Okay, well, how about working with us?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, say less." And so we kind of like negotiated everything that would be going down about that. Now, as far as I'm aware, they are really big in like the CS:GO community, and that is not a game that I play. If you go to their website, you'll see like all of the CS:GO people. They're also really big into Rainbow Six Siege, as far as I can tell, and they have like one Overwatch person. And so, of those games, Overwatch is probably the one that I play. I mean, actually, I don't even play the other games. So yes, Overwatch is the game that I play on that list. So I'm not a part of any kind of like roster as far as like esports competition goes. But he and I have talked about putting together a rogue company roster, like keeping an eye out for people who might be interested in that, which I would love because I love rogue company and I'm looking for more excuses to play it. As Carlos said earlier, I want to get down. I'm down to clown on some Roko. Okay.
Samesies.
I've also really been interested in Cold War lately, which is so weird for me.
Really?
I know, right?
That is pretty weird for you.
It's pretty fun. I mean, I played a little bit of it this year, and it's satisfying. It's a satisfying shooter.
Wow, Chris, you sound like that guy at T3.
You're like, this Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War satisfying mechanics. It feels good.
He got shot in the face again. Wow.
It feels good to do the shoot.
Boom, headshot.
But I think most of that is coming from like the people that I'm watching play the game, who are a lot of local players here in the area, and they have a good time playing it. I'm like, I want to have that good time too. So it really goes to show how important charisma is, because one of them is actually just kind of okay at the game. The other one's like really good at the game, and some people have been playing Valorant too, so it's gotten me interested in that. It's like, it's crazy how my gaming has evolved over the course of time. Because on my stream, to circle back around, you'll see a whole bunch of Nintendo games. I'm a variety streamer focused on Nintendo and PC. But you're starting to see a lot more Rogue Company now and Spellbreak. More of these like shooters, battle royale type games, as opposed to like my kitschy Nintendo games of the past. I'm playing more Overwatch as well. And I think my audience is like kind of like getting used to that, but they're not like taken aback or anything, which I really appreciate, because at first I thought I would be shoehorned into like, the Nintendo world, which I don't have a problem with. But also, like, I'm an adult, so like I drink and stuff. And like that is not always conducive to like a family-friendly environment. So I do have that mature filter on there. So I'll be drinking like my water, quote unquote, but it's not water.
Or your
like,
juice.
Yeah, right.
It's Bacardi. But they don't have to know that unless they listen to this podcast.
Not secret sound.
So, what is it like then? So, if we could swing back to Ninjala, could you give me a little bit more behind the scenes of what that looks like from your perspective? Not from, if I tuned into your Switch or your Twitch and watched you play, or checked your Twitter and saw some of the work that you've done, like graphics-wise or anything else with it. But like from your perspective on the inside, what does that look like?
I'm afraid I don't understand the question. What do you mean?
So, so Ninjala is obviously very new here in North America, right?
I think it was globally released at the same day. But yes, it is fairly new.
Okay.
It came out in June. I'm pretty sure June.
Well, how did you reach a position where, well, now you have like an official position as an ambassador?
Ta-da!
How did you get to that point? Did you just find Ninjala, like it, you streamed it enough that you got attention? Did you reach out to the developer? Like, how did that get started?
Well, actually, I go over a bit about this in my ambassador highlight video. But for those who aren't privy to that video, as soon as the game came out, like I saw the trailer for it during one of the Nintendo Directs, I think in March, because apparently it had been announced 2 years prior, right? It was announced in like 2017 or something like that at E3, which I was surprised to know. But then, the trailer came out. I was like, I love this game. I need it in my life. I need all of it. And it came out in June. And I realized it was developed by Gung Ho, who I know is responsible for the mobile game Teppen, which is a Capcom card fighter. One of our mutual friends, Mr. Devin himself, Devin Riley, happens to be an ambassador for Gung Ho for Teppen. And I didn't know that until one day he like tweeted out something, and I just happened to look at his bio and it said ambassador for Teppen, Gung Ho, and I was like, wait a minute. So I actually ended up DMing him on Twitter. I sent them DMs, just like that, for actual professional reasons. Unprofessional reasons we'll have to wait until later. Sorry, Devin. So I reached out to him on Twitter, and I was like, hey, how do I become an ambassador for Gung Ho? I don't know if they have anything for Ninjala yet, but I want to represent this game. And he had directed me to someone who had then directed me to an application to fill out. And this had happened in July. And so, until then, I didn't hear anything back from them. They said if I didn't hear anything back for 2 weeks, reach out again. And I did. And so they were like, this is a roadmap for things like that. And I was like, okay. So I just, streamed the game. I kept streaming it, kept playing it. And I kept talking about it. Come October, maybe? I don't know. It was the latter half of last year. They announced, hey, we're doing Ninjala Ambassadors. Apply. And it was the same application that I had filled out like forever ago. And so I was just like, hey, I did this thing. Enter. And eventually they had just reached out. His name is Jamar. He was the one who reached out to me over Discord and was like, so I put your name in hat for ambassadorship because, like, you're cool and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, awesome. And then, like, a month later, they, like, officially onboarded me and everything, and now an ambassador. Yay.
That's great.
But it's not the first time that I've ever been an ambassador for a studio. I was actually a brand ambassador for Nintendo. Like in early 2010s or whatever, they had this event at Oak Park Mall, and I'm actually wearing a shirt from it. It was like a Christmas event that they had there. It's like a seasonal event, and I worked there for them as a brand ambassador there too. And I actually ended up putting that in my application for Gung Ho, which is the reason I say that at all. And it worked out.
Yeah, I'd say. Well, cool. Well, that is really exciting. I know that I don't use Twitter very often, but when I pop in on there, you're usually the first person I see.
I talk a lot. I think I have over 13,000 tweets. The last I checked.
That's a lot.
I talk a lot. I don't have nearly as many followers as necessitates that amount of tweets, but we be out here talking.
It's like food, booze, games. Food, games, booze. Yeah.
I don't talk about alcohol that much on my Twitter. It's definitely a lot of food, for sure.
Well, that's great. Well, unless there's anything specific that you'd like to shout people out, we can jump into some of these questions. As if these weren't all questions already.
I mean, you're not wrong. I would say, check out GGPR. They have some people on there. I haven't been able to check them all out myself. But there's a wide variety of games on there. Like I said, we have all the FPSs, the TPSs. There's also someone in there that is proficient in World of Warcraft. There's a Hearthstone player. There's Overwatch, like I said. If you go to, gosh, I don't know the exact link for team, Twitch teams, but I think it's twitch.tv/ESB. I'm gonna actually check that right quick. /ESB. No.
Tell people that if they want to follow GGPR Esports, That is at GGPR Esports, just like it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find them. They're based in Kansas City here.
Yes, please. Like, check them out, you know. I'd also like to shout out another, I don't know if I'm allowed to actually do this, being on GGPR, but they follow each other, kind of. So check out Kansas City Pioneers, another local esports coalition. They're actually the ones that I've been watching play, you know, Cold War and Valorant. They also have a really high stake in Halo. So please go check them out, too. You know, I know we're like, quote unquote, competing esports teams, maybe, but we're all Kansas City. So, you know, stick together. Do that thing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Party Invite. Check us out.
Hey,
everyone.
that's us.
Who
Hey.
Okay, well then, without any further ado, I mean, the first question I had on here, you already answered. It was that, what is your earliest gaming memory? And I've heard you tell that story before, that you were gaming since you were 1 year old, like 1 year old. And,
Mhm.
man, that's pretty wild.
It's nuts.
Gaming taught me to read. Like,
Yeah?
it taught me to read. I learned to read from video games. I learned how to drive because of Mario Kart. Like, when I first got into my car, I think I actually told the story, like, on our second podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
My mom was, like, super surprised because I had, like, the basics down and everything. But, you know, thanks, Mario Kart. Thank you, Nintendo.
Yeah. I learned how to drive a trailer because of Grand Theft Auto. My coworkers thought I was kidding, and I was like, it's the same physics. It's the same thing. Do you have any favorite video game characters?
I mean, Princess Peach. Princess
Oh,
Peach
you
is
like her?
Yeah, she's like my all-time. She's my oh my god, I love her so
Bowsette.
much. No, thank you.
No.
First of all, Bowsette's not even real. Just to get that out there. And I do like the concept of Bowsette that gives her the dark skin with the red hair, because that's more akin to what Bowser would look like wearing the super crown after being turned into, you know, the Et. You know what I mean? A lot of people the Et. The other one is just, you know, Peach with Bowser horns. It's not really inspired or original. So kudos to the people that are drawing them like Bowser. But Princess Peach, to answer your question, is my favorite character. She embodies everything that I hope to be as a person. She is kind. She is compassionate. She is strong, deceptively so. She is just so talented just as a person. You know, yeah, she's a kind of a damsel in distress, quote unquote, but she has all of these sports. All of her citizens care about her as a person, and she's a benevolent ruler. And even though she gets kidnapped all the time, it doesn't like she's never like in any real trouble. She could always escape if she wanted to, which is shown in a couple of video games, you know. And she always has these communications. Go ahead.
She's always in another castle. Wherever you think you're there, she's always in another one.
Well, I mean, she has these trustworthy advisors that she knows she can take that you can take care of the castle. So it's fine. It's fine. You know, people make fun of her all the time for being kidnapped, but you know, she's actually very smart, you know.
It's like, I just do it to be chased.
She likes
like,
the attention, and who doesn't?
It's
I
for
mean,
the
that's totally
thrills.
me, right?
She just does
That's
it
my
for the
brand.
thrills.
Honestly, I mean, the original reason she gets kidnapped in the first place is because she has the power to stop the magic that transforms all of the citizens into the bricks. You know, Bowser's trying to take over the kingdom, so he turns all the citizens into bricks. And Peach is the only one who can dispel that magic. And that is the reason that she gets kidnapped originally. So yeah, I think it would be perfect if they just got together, because it's a marriage of two kingdoms. You know what I mean? You have the Mushroom Kingdom, and then you have Bowser's Kingdom, and it's just like it's a political move. Also, he's like a smoking hot ginger, so like, do it.
he was a little problematic in Odyssey, but I mean, it was like.
Yeah, I suppose.
Which would you prefer, a computer RPG, a Japanese RPG, or Western RPG?
So, when you say computer RPG, what do you mean by that?
Like the old, either text-based ones, or I would even say that Disco Elysium is like a computer RPG.
It is definitely a
Okay.
computer RPG.
Yeah. Like equip bees, etc. Right?
Yeah, more like less about like any sort of moment-to-moment like visible combat, like action. Like you might take action, like if you were playing like the original Rogue game, or like an old text-based, like a D&D like. That
Okay.
would be a computer RPG.
I feel you. I feel you. I would say I really like Japanese RPGs. I know they can be a little bit sluggish and grindy, but they always just have these really vast, colorful worlds. Even though they're kind of tropey at times. But if you look at things like Genshin Impact, you see the impact, pun intended, that it's had, like on the community, like the game community as a whole. People are obsessed with this game, and it's not just because of the gacha waifus or whatever. It's because it has an actual, overarching, like vast story. It has this really large world that's able to be explored just by all these different means of travel and everything. And I just love that. That's why I really like Breath of the Wild as well, because it captures that kind of JRPG element, um, of just exploration and huge story.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say I'm not a big fan of JRPGs, but Breath of the Wild like perfectly takes the things I really do like about it and almost puts it into a sort of Western RPG. Like it's not truly Western like a Skyrim or anything like that, but it gives that open world uh, aspect that makes it more accessible to somebody like me, which
yeah.
is why I think it's had so much success.
And I don't mean to discount Western RPGs at all because they do have the ability to tell a good story, but I feel like a lot of them are just kind of um, shoehorned into that D&D sort of aspect. You know, none of them really take anything like any adventurous measures at all. You know, you
Yeah.
think of a Western RPG, you think of a dude in knight in an armor riding a horse across Everglen or whatever, and like
Yeah.
fighting the dragons. You think of like the hot elven sorceress with the way too big boobs, you know, and no armor. It's all very just one dimensional to me. That being said,
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is one of my favorite PS2 games, so you know, take
Very
that with a
good
grain
game.
of salt.
Did you try out the most recent demo? Did that game actually come out, or was it a beta?
Almost.
What are you talking about?
The newest Baldur's Gate game.
Baldur's
Baldur's
Gate
Gate
3 is in early access.
Okay.
And
That's
Act
right.
I have
1
not tried it out.
Act 1 is available, and they just added a druid class.
Yeah, you might check it out, Devi. I watched a few people play it, and like that stuff's not really my cup of tea. That looks pretty good. Like,
I like the character customization. It seems really robust, and you know that's the easiest way to sell me onto a game.
I watched two different people play, and I actually thought they were playing different games because their characters were so different.
Wow.
I would
Yeah.
I would suggest starting at Divinity Original Sin 2, because it's cheaper and it's incredible, and that'll like once by the time you're like finished with that, you'll be ready for Baldur's Gate 3, and hopefully that's done. You know, we just don't have a timetable for when that game is actually going to be out of early access and finished. I mean, it's such a big RPG though too. You could probably spend a ton of hours just in that opening act and not and still get a ton of joy out of it. And by the time you're finished with that act, the next piece is out, hopefully, right? But
Yeah.
Well, our next question is, Debbie, I've played Overwatch with you, so I know you play Symmetra, but damage, tank, or healer?
So I like characters that are kind of a mix of support and assault. I tend to gravitate more towards assault. So I guess I'm gonna say DPS. But Symmetra, since you brought her up, actually started out as a support character, but they realized that her damage dealing capabilities outweighed her support abilities. So they turned her into a damage character. But I just like characters that can dish out the damage while also helping out their team. So in Overwatch, for instance, I do play Symmetra. I play Baptiste as well, the combat medic. In Rogue Company, I'll play characters like Saint. But also, I like characters that open up possibilities for the team to capitalize on a weakness. So I'll play flankers and stuff. In Splatoon, I'll use the ink brush. So I'll flank the team and then, you know, create opening for my teammates. In Rogue Company, I'm a Lancer main, although I do dabble in Saint. So
Speaking of
Lancer.
insane, that clip you showed the other day was pretty good. Where you
Oh, my
did
Lancer
that-
clip?
Yeah, you played as Lancer, and isn't her deal when you sprint, you can sprint silently, and you just sprinted all the way around this chucklehead, just showed up behind him, and was just like, got you.
It's my favorite thing to do because they never see you coming, and I'm just like, so satisfied that I'm able to just, oh, you hacking? Blood out. So yeah, DPS with a splash of support.
Appreciate that. Then the last question is there a specific video game that really made you fall in love with gaming?
I do want to say, since I was introduced to video games at a very young age, I had the privilege of being able to play all of these classics that people nowadays can sometimes only experience through like emulators or virtual consoles or going into an arcade that specializes in those classic games. So I feel really grateful that I was able to fall in love with games at such a young age like that and carry that into almost a career, kind of. I'm not quite there yet as a career person with gaming, but it's definitely become a lifestyle that I can comfortably indulge in. All that to say, I want to say Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Sega Genesis probably was the game that jump-started like my real love of video games. Even though, excuse me, frog in my throat. Even though I had, access to all of these games early on, like Super Mario, Tecmo Bowl, all the NES games, and the Game Boy games and things like that, Sonic 2, with its just vibrant world and its music, oh my gosh, Sonic music, is always astounding. If there's anything they always get right, it's music. Sonic Forces is probably one of the worst games that we've had since Sonic 06, but its music is banging, okay? It has such good music. They will never get that wrong, as far as I'm concerned. But the level design in Sonic 2 is also really great, because not only does it account for Sonic's just running, but it also accounts for Tails' flying as well. So it's just really cool how they were able to marry these level designs with the game mechanics in that fashion, which is something that I can only appreciate now as an adult. You know, as a kid, I was just like, woo, me go fast, woohoo! Cute little fox character, you know what I mean? But it's just, it's crazy, because that was the first Sonic game that I was able to collect all the emeralds in and, you know, expand to like the final boss and be like the super character and everything. And accomplishing that and watching that whole conflict unfold was just, to me. We're up in space, we're fighting people. I was just like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
It's a kid. This is crazy.
And the special stage too is by far superior than Sonic 1's special stage, which puts me to sleep. So there's that.
Wow, shots fired. We'll get Jabari on here. We'll see if he has strong conflicting Sonic opinions.
I don't know. Jabari doesn't even like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, so I don't know. Invalid opinion.
That's even more shots fired.
Come at me, bro. I got you, Jabari.
Round one, fight. Well, great. Okay. Well, Devi, thanks for letting us kind of take a deep dive into your background here. I mean, we have you on the show all the time, but I've had a couple people even ask me, either on my stream or off stream, about each of us, but usually people are most interested in you.
Oh, thank you. Gosh.
So, this was a good time. Devi, do you want to tell everybody where they could find all of our party invite stuff?
Yes, that would be at linktr.ee/partyinvite. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms there. You can also find us on Anchor, and that's going to be mostly our podcast stuff. And yeah, you'll see us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So please come check us out. Yeah.
All right.
Nice. All right, that's going to do it. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Good talk.
Bye-bye.
Awkward bye.
That's my life story.